All right, cool.
Got it.
All right, guys, we're on the Ignite Baseball podcast. We got me, Kurt Hughes, Max Glasser, and then our special guest, we got Austin Bibens-Dirkx. I said that right, correct?
You did.
I repeated it like 6 times to Max yesterday to make sure I said it right. I
Still
just
couldn't
wanted,
spell
dude, that was you.
it. That's true.
Anyways, so Austin played 2 years in the bigs with Texas, 14 years. That's right, right? I counted that right. 14-year
Yep.
professional career. Both in affiliate ball and overseas. You played kind of in Asia a little bit, correct?
Yep. Taiwan.
Wow, really, really cool. And Max actually, you kind of like coached him, or were like on the staff. I mean, you were a pitcher,
Yeah,
obviously, right? And you
yeah,
were more involved in the hitting side.
yeah, a little bit. But I was on the staff, like running the video stuff at the time. So
Yep.
yeah, that's we formed a good relationship that season, and so still kind of keep in touch and was able to get him on the ball, secure it.
Love it, love it. So you want to just tell us a little bit about like growing up and kind of like getting into baseball? Everyone's kind of got like a little bit different story as far as that's concerned. You want to just kind
Yeah.
of start with that?
Yeah. Always loved baseball. I actually started practicing my signature when I was 7. My grandma has the baseball. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, throughout my childhood, middle school, high school, I was super small, like beyond undersized. I was 5'4", like 90 pounds my freshman year of high school. Didn't really grow until college. So I played 1 year of varsity baseball, my senior year. And I don't know, just I had the drive. I knew what I wanted to do. Once I went to community college, I was this close to joining the Navy. Um, if I didn't get any baseball scholarships, I was going to go into the Navy, and it ended up they would have given me a bigger signing bonus than I got anyway. But I got one offer to go to a community college, and I worked my butt off, gained like 35 pounds within my 2 years there, velo jumped, and got pretty much a full ride to University of Portland. Spent 1 year there and got drafted in the 16th round.
Very cool. I think that's really interesting because, like, we work with, like some college and pro athletes, but we also like the majority of people that we work with are kind of like more like that, like 12 to like 16 range, right? And I think what's really, really common, like, is that a lot of kids that are kind of in that age, like, they want things like really fast. They're like, I wish I want to snap my fingers and be like this great baseball player, right? And like, you're someone who played professionally for like a really long time and had a really nice career. And like what you're telling us is that like for your jumps and everything that happened for you happened like super late. What was that like? Kind of like, honestly, like obviously continuing to work hard, but like kind of playing the waiting game.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as people would always tell me no, growing up. Like I was good. I was making all-star teams. I played shortstop. I would pitch, but I was never like, oh, this guy's going to be good. This guy's going to be a guy. And so for me, I kind of took it a little bit personally, had that chip on my shoulder a little bit, and it really drove me to kind of work that much harder. I remember even in grade school, I was tasked with writing a paper on what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I asked my teacher, can I write about being a baseball player? And she's like, no, we're really focusing on doing like realistic goals. And so that was like one of my first like smack in the face. I'm like, huh, okay, I'll prove you wrong. And she actually still has, I've talked to her since then, obviously. And she's like, I tell your story to everybody. I allow everybody to write whatever they want now. I still have your paper. It's really cool that like she has kind of changed because of just my story. But that was kind of the first wake up call. Like, okay, I'm really going to have to, prove to people that this is what I want to do and I can do it. And work my butt off to get there. So it was cool. I really liked, honestly, the guys and teachers and everybody that was basically telling me no, because it just made it that much sweeter when I actually accomplished that goal.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome message for parents or kids listening so they can kind of like understand that like everybody kind of has a different path. And I think what's tough sometimes is like if we're telling a kid that like, hey, like, you know, you're doing a lot of decent things like in your swing or like in the way you throw or whatever, but like, you know, you're just not there yet from like physically, right? A lot of times people think that that is us just trying to like sell them on more training or something like that. And like, look, like I'm not going to sit here and act like we don't make money off training like we do, but at the same time, it's like, you know, sometimes that's just true. And it's just like you just got to keep working. And like if you keep working, then you kind of will end up landing in wherever you're going to land. And everybody's path is different. And I think it's pretty cool that you weren't like, you know, just the guy from the jump, and, you know, had that resilience. And it seems like that is kind of reflected in your pro career as well. Like it seems like you rode the bus for a while. It kind of took a while for you to kind of like, I guess, taste the sweet nectar of like pro ball, or not pro ball, but like of the major leagues. Um, and like now you're still in baseball, which is awesome, which speaks to how much you love it even more, I guess, right? Like some people walk out of it and they just like, you know, head for the hills and don't want to do that anymore. And clearly that's something you still want to do. So you want to talk a little bit about like your experience, like in the minors and kind of like working your way up and learning about like how to develop?
Yeah, honestly, when I got drafted, obviously 16th rounder, not too lucrative of a draft spot, especially now that they're only 20. So that's kind of towards the end of the draft. But, you know, for me, it was once I got into pro ball, my arm felt better. It was a whole weird thing. I actually had a routine that I could follow, you know, in college. I had a good arm and I was misused. I would like, hey, we're playing Oregon State today. You're going to start, go as long as you can, when I was typically a closer. So it was kind of misused. And then finally, when I jumped into pro ball, I was on a schedule. I knew what I was doing. I knew when I was throwing, velo jumped, everything. I kind of became a prospect like that. And my first year in my first full season, 2007, they basically said, hey, you'll be in the big leagues by the end of the year. And that was until I ended up getting hurt because they tried to change mechanics. And yeah, so long story there. I don't know if we want to get fully into that, but so for me, you know, I kind of went through an injury, went from being a prospect to getting released after that next year. And it was kind of eye-opening because I feel like, and I tell my wife this, like I was kind of a prick when I became like, when I did really well and became a top prospect. I think I was number 17, 18 in the Mariners organization. I was like, oh, I don't have to worry. I throw 95 from down here. Like I'm good. And I was kind of a prick. And so like for me, I was kind of an eye-opening experience. And, you know, I was a terrible self-evaluator back then. And, you know, the long career, I had 2 indie ball stints. I was playing in indie ball a year before I got called to the big leagues. Like 2016, I was in indie ball. Still, I was questioning even going there because I was married. I was 30. You know, I didn't know kind of where to go. Indie ball doesn't pay very much. You know, I had a house payment, a wife to support, you know, so I was like, I'll give it a shot, see what happens. And went to indie ball in 2016, threw pretty well. A guy I know passed my name along to the Rangers, signed with them, did pretty well the rest of the year, the rest of the summer there. And then 2017 came, I got invited to a lot of, you know, big league games. And every time I was invited to those games, didn't go big league camp, but as a backup, a JIC, just in case player, I would go and I would throw and I would, you know, would lay it all out there and threw well. And a month into the season, I was in the big league. So, and it was crazy because I literally was in indie ball less than a year before I made my big league debut, which is crazy to me. But, you know, I feel like a part of me, I told you I was a prick, terrible self-evaluator as I went through my career. Like I had to learn the hard way. Maybe you should be a little nicer to people. Maybe you should, create those relationships that last longer. Like Max, he was our video guy, but we gave each other a lot of crap, and he would call me out on my stuff. And but creating those kind of relationships throughout baseball, I think, kept me in baseball a long time. Once I kind of was humbled a little bit, and so it's not necessarily what you can do for the team, but what you can do for the people around you, and making their lives better. I feel like has really aided me in my career, just in the fact that I know quite a few people that have put their name on the line for me and gotten me a job in baseball because of the person I became after I was a prick. So it's one of those things that a guy put his name out there for me, signed with the Rangers. I obviously have to show up and do your job and do well. And I took full advantage of it and was in the big leagues the next year. So it's kind of a crazy thing. And that's kind of how I'm going into coaching too, is the same thing. Create those relationships with the players. Some of my best coaches, I had a great relationship with. They asked about family. They asked about stuff outside of baseball. Baseball wasn't the only thing. And, having that connection, you obviously create trust. And that's kind of the way my career kind of evolved throughout that process. Young prick, bad self-evaluator, had to learn the hard way, and kind of was able to prolong my career just because of, the lessons I learned.
Still think one of the more impressive things that I've ever seen in my 2 years of pro ball was like you signed with us, no spring training, no alt site, came out, won our first game of the year in Round Rock, like 5 scoreless or something like that, just kind of straight off the couch. That was pretty cool.
Well, I was working out. I didn't come straight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but
I came in prepared, but
Max, all right.
okay. I mean,
and it was Round Rock. That was the Rangers. It was my old team. I'm like, I have to
yeah.
shove it up there. Yeah, I have to do well today. So
and all those guys, man, that was good team.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's funny. You kind of, I learned something kind of similar, like in my career, right? Like it was literally the first date with my wife. We're at this like dive bar, piano bar thing in like Georgetown, and this like dude wearing like a suit who looked like he's like made of millions, like sits next to us, and I was like 23, she's like 22, something like that, and we had like a couple drinks, and I look at the guy, and I'm like, and he had like $100 bill that was just like out on the table, and he was kind of like, bartender, like pull from that. I'm like, this dude's like made of money, and I like look at him, I'm like, hey man, like, I'm like 23, she's 22. We're kind of getting started in our career. Like, you have any advice for us? And he's like, yeah, like, like every like big deal that I've done or anything I've done in business has kind of come through like love, instead of it being like, about like the money or about like doing whatever. It's been more about like trying to develop like really good relationships. And like, if you put love out there, it comes back to you. And sometimes that's in the form of money. And I was like, at the time, I'm like 23. I'm like, this guy's full of crap. That was the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. And I thought that for like 2 years. And then like now it's like, now I'm 32. And it's like, no, like that was like totally right. Like everything, like you said, is about like the relationships that you make. And, I think everybody kind of comes to that conclusion maybe a little different way. And for me, I was a bad self-evaluator too, or maybe not a self-evaluator, but I just like, I wanted everything. I was like that 16-year-old kid who thought they should, be committed D1 because they're like really good. I thought I was the best hitting coach ever. And it's like, dude, you don't know anything, as a 26-year-old dude, so I'm totally with you there. So you've had a lot of like, well, definitely like on the big league side, you had a lot of like kind of, I don't want to say like awesome teammates, but like from like a flashy side, like really, really cool teammates. Like you play with Yu Darvish.
Yep. Darvish.
Maybe like, let's talk a little bit about that. Like that dude, his pitch arsenal is kind of like legendary. Like any like cool Yu Darvish stories that you can tell?
I mean, just watching his bullpens, honestly, day in and day out, were ridiculous. The way he can manipulate a ball, just like he has 18 different ways to throw a slider, and it's all different speeds, all different shapes. Like it is honestly, it's incredible how much he puts into that. Like I had trouble just throwing a normal slider, like just a normal slider. And mine's like a cutter slider hybrid thing. So like for me, seeing him just go out there and be like, okay, this one's going to do this, or this one's going to do this. Like what, how I can't fathom like just manipulating your hand that way, just knowing exactly how to do that so well. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things. Like honestly, he kept to himself a lot. So you didn't really get to, I mean, he was funny when he did come out, like that's a character, but he did kind of keep to himself, and always had his translator next to him, which he would communicate with. But just the fact that, being able to see a guy like that go day in and day out, the way he prepared, and just his pure talent of manipulating the baseball, which is what pitching is all about, was super impressive.
Did he have any like really kind of like unique like routines or anything that he did that was maybe different than other guys that you played with or been around?
Not anything crazy. What was crazy to me was the fact that he was like, his translator was his catch partner, and throwing all that kind of, like, I wouldn't even want to catch it. And this guy is he's not a pro baseball, but he's a translator. I'm like, how I would be diving out of the way, and he's just standing there, just catch. I'm okay. I mean, it's pretty impressive, but no, nothing crazy out of the ordinary. Other than like that was his catch partner. He didn't really play catch with anybody else other than him. So.
And another interesting one is you play with Adrian Beltre too.
Yep. Beltre. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame probably next year? I think that's his year. But I was being there for his 3,000th hit was awesome. I pitched, I think, the day before. I was so mad because I'm like, I want to be on that lineup card when he gets it. And I wasn't. I started the day before, but just being there for that whole experience, he gave us a few goodies, memorabilia and stuff that he signed for us for in recognition of that 3,000th hit. But no, just the way he played, obviously he made it fun out there on the baseball field. And, it was a cool, I mean, playing with a Hall of Famer, you can't really get any better than that. So.
He always kind of seemed like that, who just like had a lot of joy for the game of baseball. It was like honestly just kind of like a pleasure to watch him do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the big leagues, I think, when he was 19. So, I mean, he spent a lot of time, growing into the game, and had a lot of fun doing it. And, it is a game. Like, that's ultimately, baseball is a game. You got to enjoy it. It's not just a job. Like, that's one thing I had learned. I was taking it very, very seriously, which, it was a livelihood, but you still have to enjoy it. Like, that was one thing that I had to come to a realization also is, it's fun. Like, going out there, striking somebody out, that's fun. Going out there, giving up a 700-foot homer, not as fun, but I'm lucky to do it. So like, you still have to appreciate that time. So that's one thing that I feel like he did really well out on the baseball diamond, was enjoy it and have fun, and was really cool to see, especially because he had done it for so long.
Sure. So the game has evolved a lot, like in the last, I don't know, like 20 years or whatever. It's moved quite a bit from when, you got drafted in 06. I think I was like a junior in high school at that time.
And I was in elementary school, 5th grader.
And do you want to ask this question?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we talked about it a little bit just in our conversations over this offseason, but like, talk about like kind of the difference in training styles of like when, you were coming up, maybe even like when you were in high school, kind of touch on that, because that's a lot of the kids that we worked with, as opposed to like now, and kind of as you're transitioning into coaching, like how has that changed, and what can you pull from kind of when you were coming up, and what can you pull from now, and how do you really tie those together?
Basically, you have to forget everything like when I was in high school, college, the way we trained was not the way probably we should have been training, or not the way things are getting trained now. Just, I remember my first few spring trainings, we're running 300-yard shuttles timed. We're running, a mile and a half under 7 minutes, or you're going to be in fat camp. Like that's no longer a thing. It's, they're trying to teach explosiveness, really working on that velo. Now everything's so data driven that, there are so many other avenues to try to create horizontal movement, like those kind of things. So now that's more of a focus rather than the hey, just go run for 20 minutes and come back, and if you puke, whatever. Like that was the training back then. Like that was the way it was. And we kind of have to throw that to the wayside, because then it came out, oh, if you run more than 20 minutes, you're actually breaking down muscle. That's why runners or legs are so skinny. Like they, that there are certain things that are just no longer existent in baseball from when I started. So, which is good. But the fact that we can put numbers on literally almost everything now is kind of nice and overwhelming, probably for a lot of kids too. For me in 2006, we didn't really have vert, horizontal. It was like, oh, that guy has a good sinker, or that guy has a good ride on his heater. Like we had different terms for it. You could see it, but now that you can put a number on it, what's good. Now you have, stuff to shoot for. So that's kind of the whole transition into, I would ask you a lot of questions because I knew you knew a lot of those things, and I knew my career was kind of waning. So I was trying to get as much information as possible because I knew this is kind of what I wanted to do. So I'm like, ask questions. How can I do this better? Vert, horizontal, what do I need to make this pitch better? So that was kind of my main focus the last few years of even playing, was just that whole transition into getting that knowledge and being able to apply it to help other kids. So
yeah, I feel like it's a lot of like education based now. Almost like it's kind of where a guy like me can even come in. Like I feel like back in 2006, like I would have no chance to be like coaching in professional baseball. Like
there's a lot of ex-players, a lot of baseball camaraderie, which it's still kind of like that, but obviously there are a lot more avenues. Like I can't code. And now that we have all this data, the coding is huge in baseball. So it just creates a bunch more avenues for people that love the game, not necessarily played the game at a high level or wherever, but people that absolutely love baseball. It's a great avenue for them to jump in. So I think it's cool. Overwhelming at times. I know my head exploded. Because I was pretty cerebral. Like I liked numbers, but when you're out there pitching, you don't want to think about number. You want to think about getting a guy out. So, for me being I was pretty cerebral, if I'm being honest. Like I would think about stuff. And so like, hey, I need to work on my vert on this heater up and away. Like that was a terrible thing for me. So sometimes it was a little overwhelming and I had to chill. But yeah, no, it's cool that the game has kind of progressed that way.
So if you were to do that, so like right now, like I'm assuming you're in the Blue Jays organization now, right? As a coach,
Yep.
You're doing pitching, right? So like if someone, let's say someone like you, right, that was trying to work on their vert from the heater up in the zone, like what would be like the first like one or two things that you might tell them?
So I would look at probably their spin efficiency first to see if they even should be throwing a four seam up in the zone. Just because spin efficiency, like if you have a really good spin efficiency and the ball actually has that good backspin and can actually ride, then I would progress to the next one. But like if you want to improve it, and their
Can I jump in and tell the listeners what that is really quick? So
spin efficiency.
Do you want to say it? You want me to say it?
You can go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Spin efficiency is the percent of the spin that actually has an effect on the movement of the pitch. So like if it has 90% spin efficiency, let's just use an easy number. It spun 100 RPMs, then that means 90 RPMs are affecting the movement of the pitch. That would be way low knowing it spins at 90 or 100 RPMs. But like, I'm just using an easy number.
That's an outlier pitch.
No, for sure.
That'd be good.
Hold on. You gotta decline this. Okay, I'm back.
So, for me, I would look at that first. But then, one of the biggest things on spin efficiency and actually staying behind the ball is just playing long toss, like actually getting out there, playing long toss, teaching the kid how to actually stay behind the ball to get it out to, 200, 300 feet. And that honestly has been one way, because I've gone straight headfirst into this analytical thing. So I've read a bunch of driveline blogs, started listening to, the podcast Tread, Driveline, all those kind of things. And one of the things that has helped spin efficiency and or vert is just strictly throwing long toss, just because you're not going to get it to where you want it to if you don't have that good spin efficiency and stay behind the ball. You can get that good vert. So for people that have a pretty good spin efficiency to begin with, to help with that vert, I would say just play a lot of long toss, and you're trying to carry it. And then as they come in, you really get after it and try to, you might have to aim at their knees to hit them in the head. But, that's kind of at about 100, 120 feet. That's kind of the way I would do it now after learning, going down that rabbit hole.
Now, this just kind of having fun with this like line of thought, because that's kind of what I do. So like, all right, so let's say now you have someone who's like the opposite, who's more like a sinker baller kind of guy, right? Like, if we're using long toss as a way, and how far we throw the ball as a way to increase like your vertical carry, right? If you want the opposite of vertical carry, I'm not saying we shouldn't do long toss. I'm just kind of like throwing that out there. Like, okay, what would be the counter of like what you would work on if you want someone to do the opposite of that?
That's where you would still try to do the long toss, but if it bounces, it bounces. You want them to, you're still working on that arm speed. Like if you want to gain velo, you have to try to throw hard. Like, yep. So, you're in long toss, you're, doing pull downs. If your ball bounces, it bounces. Like if your ball is moving that much, and the same thing with the spin efficiency, like the best spin efficiency ish for sinkers is 75 to 90. And so like if you're in that range, throwing a sinker, even trying to get your sinker better, you still need to be aggressive with it and throw it hard, but don't worry about getting it there. That's the complete opposite of having that true vert and backspin. Like you're trying to get it there, but as a sinker guys, give it a max effort, and if it bounces 50 feet in front of them, who cares? Like you're working on
angle thing. Like I would think that might be something that could probably get you to sink it more, right? Like rather than
the what you cut out, right?
Arm angle, like type of deal, like that could.
Yeah. So your arm angle, the spin direction, is huge. And now seam shifted wake is a big thing. Like guys that throw sinkers, seam shifted wake, you're trying to create as much. You're trying to keep the seams on the inside and have a bald spot pretty much on the outside, because then that's what pushes the sinker. So really tinkering with the way you hold the ball can really allow that, because now, with a Rapsodo and a TrackMan, Rapsodo basically is out of the hand. A TrackMan is like the whole movement profile. And you can see if you put both diagrams, like for the spin directions, you put both diagrams, the Rapsodo will be like, okay, his fastball is here, but then that like the implied movement. And then on the TrackMan, it'll be shifted more, because that's basically the seam shifted wake. Like this is how it's actually the movement profile of the whole pitch. So as it approaches the plate, it actually, the axis tilts and creates that movement. So like for sinker guys, really trying to tinker with that, the seams and trying to keep those seams on that inside to create that, the airflow. If it's super busy on this side, it's going to push harder on it, and it's going to create that movement. So that's the simple version of it, I would say.
No, that's really cool. What was I going to say? What do we have for time? 31. We'll go like another like 10, 12 minutes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. And
let's touch on this one here.
Oh God. All right. You and I have something in common, Austin.
Okay. Giving up homers.
We what? we're both licking our wounds from the Cowboys loss.
Yeah, that's tough.
Dude. All right. So here's the question of the day when it comes to that. Did you watch until the final play, or was there a point in that last drive where you're just like, I'm out?
I did. We actually had this was stupid of me because I thought they could pull it out if Dak played well. But we had 16 people over at our house. So it was on. But yeah, it was. I watched in that last play. I still don't understand, but no, I'm a fan because I'm more of an optimist. I thought hey, we got a chance. They have some guys that can do some things. No matter what, there's a chance. I've seen crazier. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen Dumb and Dumber too, right? I mean, they're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. So exactly. So no, I was fully locked in.
I walked away when Dalton Schultz caught that ball and just only got 1 foot in because he was being a doofus. There was only a however many seconds left, and that happened. And I was just
did you see a replay of the last play or with the?
I saw them lined up at center, and I knew they lost, and I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I was just I'm not doing it. Yeah, as soon as he stepped out of bounds, I was oh, and I saw the replay. I was oh, he clearly didn't get in. I just walked into the other room.
You knew it was over.
And I knew that was it. I was I can't engage with this anymore. For my mental health, I have to walk away.
No, so, I suffered through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like that pain. You have to feel that pain because then maybe next year when they don't, it's just going to be that much better,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, man. Yeah, I hope it's such feast or famine with Dak. I hope that in some of these more high leverage games in the next couple of years, he can kind of figure it out a little bit. He looks so good in some games, and he looks so bad in other games. And I don't know if it's a mental prep thing or what it is. I like him as a quarterback, and I defend him to my father all the time. But I just I don't know, man. I'm waning on it. It's tough.
Yeah, no, he gets happy feet, which is fine. He needs to use his feet more, which he did actually the last couple of games, which I was super happy about. But no, I feel just those big pressure games. It's he feels the pressure to do too much and overthink stuff rather than taking the easy dump off or the easy throw. It's I got to force it into CD. I got to, it's just over just, I don't know, his mental thing when in those big games, he's just overthinking everything, which is not.
Yeah, he's just got to play a little point guard. He gets a little bit too I'm trying to force the issue.
Yeah.
But,
can we get a Super Bowl matchup prediction?
Ooh, let's go. Honestly, I want the Bengals.
Me too.
Really?
I love Burrow, man. He's great.
He's
cigar smoking energy.
I feel he was me when I was young because I told you I was kind of a prick. I feel that's his mentality, which I love and also hate at the same time. But I think
wear a white fur coat like that too.
No, definitely no. I definitely did not do that. I could not pull that off at all.
We have a good picture in our rompers from 2021.
I did pull the romper off very well, honestly. Big fan of the romper. You'll have to show them that. Maybe that'll be the pick for the podcast. But I would like to see them, and I don't know. The Eagles are hot. I mean,
yeah, the Niners are hot too. I mean, can you just?
Yeah, but the way they looked against the Cowboys, the Eagles, I feel are pretty much right there with the Cowboys as well. I think the Cowboys are a little better personally, but depending on how Dak plays on the week. But no, I think Eagles. I'm hoping Eagles because I want it to stay. In at least in our division,
That's always. That's an interesting argument. You root for your division or do you root against them?
Yeah, I want our division to do well.
I'm pulling.
I want our division to do well. I really want our division to do well. Like I was rooting for the Giants, obviously, because the Giants, I knew the Cowboys would beat easily if they got past the 49ers. So I was rooting for the Giants. But I think it's just like in college football, my wife went to Oregon. I grew up an Oregon State fan. I root for them both. I root for the Pac-12 no matter what. I didn't go to Pac-12 school, so I can root for whoever I want. That's the way I see it.
I like it.
But my wife going to Oregon, like unless they're playing each other, whoever has a better chance to go to a better bowl or championship, like that's who I'm rooting for. So I think it just does well for the whole conference and creates that competition because the East was not very good for a very long time.
I agree. I like the
having all these teams be good. It's great.
I like the perspective. One of my best friends is an Eagles fan. He'll call me like once a week and just yell like "Go Birds!" and let me just be real. I just don't want that in my life.
No, and I really don't like the Eagles coach. Like he just seems. I don't like him. Like I don't know what it is. Probably because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I really don't like him. So in that aspect, I would kind of lean more towards San Fran, but just because I don't want to see him do well, but just to, the whole.
I hear you. I like the perspective. I'm dreading my buddy Alan calling me. He hasn't called me this week. I think he's just like knows I'm licking my wounds and doesn't really want to rub it in too much.
Yeah.
But if he listens to the podcast, he will call me like immediately. So
they had so many chances to win that game too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
I had to bring it up, man. It's just
it's fine.
Well,
it's fine.
Cool, Max. I'll remember that.
You want to go to the speed round?
Yeah.
Want me to do it, or you got it?
Yeah, I want to add one because I learned more things about him before you got here.
Okay. All right.
You relate, so it's fine.
Yeah. we can tag team it.
All right, cool.
You can start.
All right.
So we're gonna do a little speed round. Okay. No explanation. You just it's rapid fire.
Just questions.
Unless it's like super interesting, and then we'll do like a quick little.
Okay, a little side note.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Okay. Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Okay. We know you're a big video game guy. What's your go-to game?
COD.
Okay. Favorite city
that I've played in, or just
don't care. I mean, whatever. You've been around a lot, so
that I've played in Boston.
Boston. Okay.
Boston.
All right, this is a good one. Hardest hitter to face.
I hate contact guys. Or like a specific person. I just hate contact guys in general because they always kill me. So yeah, any small guy is probably going to hit a single or a double no matter what off me. I like guys that swing hard because I throw a lot of off speed pitches. So
got it. Favorite non-baseball sport?
Golf.
What's your handicap?
It was a plus 1.7, and now
let's go. You kicked my butt. I'm like a 9.
Now it's like a 1. I didn't play a ton this summer, so it kind of a little bit, but.
All right, I'm gonna change this one up. Favorite whiskey?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I mean, my go-to drink is I like Four Roses single barrel.
Okay. Yeah.
That's like just one that I just like to sip on. It's just an easy drinker that, yeah. No, there are a lot though. You should see mine.
Yeah, he's got an Instagram. You can check out a whole, what's it called, Big League Booze or something like that.
Yeah. I haven't posted in a while. I need to get back on that, but yeah.
Followers.
Favorite movie?
Oh. Gosh, that's so hard. I love movies.
Okay.
So favorite movie is really hard. My favorite movie that I've watched within the last year is Top Gun Maverick.
That's fun. I haven't seen it yet, and I know that's offensive. I love movies too. I need to see it.
It was good.
My wife loves movies too, but she's like, for whatever reason, she's like averse to Tom Cruise, which is like a little bit of a crazy take, but he has done some weird movies, so I get it.
Yeah. Well, and he's kind of a weird dude, I feel like too.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I got her to watch the original Top Gun like right before Maverick came out, and then we just haven't seen it yet, so we're just dragging our feet on it.
Well, sequels are always tough, and so I wasn't sure what to expect, but they actually did a really good job. So I was impressed.
All right, I'm adding one. Okay, outside of me, obviously, most influential coach or staff member.
Ooh, Honestly, it would probably be a guy I had with the Cubs. This is hard. Hopefully they don't listen to this. But a guy I had with the Cubs, Mike Mason. He's now like an assistant pitching coordinator for the Cubs. But I mean, he was the one. That was when I really figured out how to be a better self-evaluator, which I think helped my career a ton. So I think the most beneficial and most influential, like he called me out on some stuff and was like, where do you think that pitch was? And I'm like, oh, well, it was here. He's like, come here. And, so we went, and that was kind of the first, oh, I am really bad at thinking, where pitches were located and how well I executed. And so he was like the first guy that really made me realize how important it was. Because, especially nowadays, you have to be your own best pitching coach. If you see something or you get 6 mound visits, now you can only pick over like twice. Like everything's more reliant on the pitcher to fix things himself. So he was the first guy that kind of hammered that home. So it was great.
Clock as well now. You don't have that time to I know you didn't.
Yeah, and now the clock, you can't really think about anything. You just got to get up there and throw.
You have that one too, right?
Yeah, actually, favorite director, because you said you love movies, so
honestly, I don't think I've ever watched a Ron Howard film I haven't liked.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Name like 2 or 3 Ron Howard movies, just so people know what Beautiful Minds are, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I love that movie. Honestly, that's like one of my. I've watched so many movies. Like if you say favorite sports movie, kind of make it, because I like literally all sorts of movies. Like I rode on a bus for how many years? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of, you have to enjoy that, or music. And, we talked about that a little bit before too.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Was music.
What's your favorite, best concert you ever been to?
Ooh, big Blake Shelton fan. Went there. Honestly, Cody Jinks he's so good live. He's super impressive. He's kind of like, he's not a main, well, he is kind of now, but he's an independent guy. Like he has his own record label. So Cody Jinks, if you haven't heard
I kind of like that independent.
Texas, that's what it is. And
like Tyler Childress, that kind of thing. Like yep. I really like him, but I've never listened to Cody Jinks. You said
Cody Jinks.
All right, I'm not to get on that. All right.
No, you should.
That was like consistent throughout your career? A walkout song that was consistent throughout your career, or did you change
the score? It was the score Legend. Okay. So you can look that up too. That was
that'll be like
our outro music.
Outro, yeah.
Okay.
So now for
the sound engineer, Max, you're making promises that I must not be able to catch, my man.
You should be able to find it. It's pretty easy. It's on Spotify, so if you can have access to that. But yeah, so the picture in the romper as the post, and then
yep,
the score Legend.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
I think this was awesome, man. I don't really have like a ton more. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, no, I think it was really good. Appreciate you coming on. It's always good to see your face.
Anything that you want to like plug or like talk about, something that's important to you?
The biggest thing, that I try to at least instill in guys that I work with, it's like, if you're a pitcher, it's a game of failure. Don't, like we talked about it, we alluded to it earlier. You got to have fun, just enjoy it, and don't take any part of it for granted, because it can stop at any time. So enjoy it, have fun. I was fortunate enough to play from 2006 to 2022. So, now I get to coach. So, but just enjoy every aspect of it. That love that you talked about, if you do that, things are going to work out probably better for you than not. So, yeah, just have fun, enjoy it, and work your ass off, and you should be good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. And, maybe we'll do another one of these in however long, if you don't mind. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome, man. We'll have a great rest of your day.
Thank you as well. Sounds good. See ya.